Emily Carter never expected a quiet Saturday afternoon to become the moment that shifted everything inside her. But life had a way of surprising her when she least expected it. That day began like any other gray sky outside. Soft rumble of traffic from the street, and the warm, steady hum of the dryer rolling through the small laundry room. It was one of the few places in the house where she could be alone, where no one asked questions or tried to pull her into conversations she wasn't ready for. Laundry wasn't her favorite chore, but it gave her something to focus on, something simple, something that didn't require emotional effort. She folded shirts quickly, trying to keep her mind from drifting toward the complicated thoughts she'd been avoiding for weeks. Thoughts she didn't even want to name. Her family had gone out, her mother and stepfather off to buy groceries. Her younger stepsister at a friend's house. She assumed the house would be empty for hours, and she was grateful for the quiet. Silence had become a luxury lately, not because her life was loud, but because her mind was. She bent to pull out a warm towel when she heard the door open behind her. She froze, not in fear, but in sudden, unexpected surprise. She turned her head slightly and saw Ethan Mitchell standing in the doorway. Her stepbrother, 5 years older than her, calm by nature, thoughtful in ways that made conversations with him feel almost too gentle. They had never been extremely close, but they had shared enough late-night talks, family dinners, and long car rides to build a comfortable trust. Lately, though, something about their connection felt different, more charged, more aware. She didn't know why. She didn't want to question it, but seeing him there made her heart shift in a way she wasn't ready to acknowledge. "I didn't know anyone was home," Emily said, hoping her voice didn't sound as startled as she felt. "I came back early." Ethan's voice was warm, steady. He stepped inside the laundry room, brushing dust from his jacket sleeve as he looked at her with the familiar softness she had begun to notice far too clearly. "Didn't expect to find you hiding in here." "I'm not hiding," she replied quickly, then gave a small laugh at how defensive she sounded. "Just doing laundry." He leaned against the doorframe, arms folded, loosely, not closed off, but relaxed in that way he always was around her. "I know. I just didn't think anyone would be here." The house was too quiet. Emily tried to return to folding clothes, but her hands felt clumsy, like her fingers had forgotten how to move smoothly. She blamed the small room, the sudden interruption, the fact that Ethan always carried a calm presence that somehow made her feel everything more sharply. He took a step closer, not invading her space, just closing the distance enough to speak without raising his voice. "You've been quiet lately?" Emily kept her eyes on the pile of clothes. "Just tired. Is that really it?" he asked gently. She shrugged, hoping the gesture looked casual. "Yeah." But Ethan had always been good at reading her, even when she didn't want him to. He tilted his head slightly, studying her with concern, not judgment. "You haven't looked tired. You've looked distracted." The word hit her deeper than she wanted it. Too distracted. Yes, that was exactly what she'd been. Distracted by strange emotions she didn't understand. Distracted by the way her heart reacted around him. Distracted by questions she had no intention of saying aloud. Questions about why his presence felt different these days. Why she noticed his voice, or the warmth in his eyes, or the way he listened to her more carefully than most people did. She forced a small smile. "You think too much?" "And you talk too little," he replied with a light laugh. Then, more softly, "I'm just checking on you. That's all." Emily looked away, her cheeks warming in a way she hoped he didn't notice. She didn't want to encourage any thoughts, hers or his, that might complicate their family. They were step-siblings, adults who met later in life, but still, boundaries mattered. Ethan stepped farther into the room and picked up a stray shirt from the counter, folding it neatly and placing it beside her stack. The simple action made the space feel even smaller. The hum of the dryer seemed louder, the air thicker. "You don't need to help, Kay," she said. "I know," he replied, "but I want to." Kay swallowed. He always spoke so calmly, so naturally, that it was hard to tell when he meant something simple or something deeper. They worked in silence for a moment, though silence around Ethan never felt empty. He made it feel warm, steady, safe. After a minute, he said softly, "I'm glad you're here." The words were simple, but they didn't feel simple. They felt like something else, something that made her heart jump unexpectedly. She didn't know what he meant, or if he meant anything beyond kindness, but it still made her breath catch. She looked at him, trying to read his expression. His face held no tension, no hidden meaning, just a quiet warmth that made her chest tighten before she could respond. He reached out, not quickly, not boldly, just to pull off a small thread that clung to her sleeve. The touch was harmless, ordinary. But the warmth of his fingers brushing her arm felt anything but ordinary. Emily's breath hitched, barely noticeable, but she felt it. He stepped back gently, giving her space again. He didn't act like he'd done anything significant. Yet the moment left a soft tension hanging between them. Then the dryer beeped loudly, breaking the fragile quiet. Emily let out a breath she didn't know she was holding and moved quickly to open the dryer door. Ethan stayed where he was, watching her with an expression she couldn't decipher. Not intense, not overwhelming, just thoughtful, like he wanted to understand what she wasn't saying. The moment lasted only a few seconds, but it felt longer, like the start of something they both felt without speaking. And though nothing dramatic happened, Emily sensed that something subtle had shifted. The air between them wasn't the same as before. It carried unspoken questions, quiet emotions, and a warmth neither of them fully understood yet. And in that small, ordinary laundry room, with the hum of the dryer fading and Ethan standing quietly nearby, Emily realized her life had just changed softly, silently, and in a way she wasn't ready to name, but she felt it all the same. Emily felt the tension from the laundry room lingering long after the dryer beeped. She didn't know whether she should speak, leave, or pretend everything felt normal. But nothing felt normal, not the air, not the silence, not the way Ethan kept watching her like he was trying to read the thoughts she kept carefully locked away. Ethan shifted his weight and leaned against the counter, his arms loose at his sides, not defensive, not distant, just present in a way that made her heart race. "Emily," he said quietly, "you've been acting different." She didn't want to have this conversation. Not here, not with the warm scent of laundry in the air and his soft voice making every emotion sharper. She folded the last towel quickly and forced herself to meet his eyes. "You're overthinking." But Ethan didn't look convinced. He gave a small, gentle nod, the kind that showed he had already noticed more than she meant for him. "Two. Maybe, but I know you, and you don't go quiet unless something's wrong." Emily turned to the shelf, pretending to organize detergent bottles, even though they were already lined perfectly. "Nothing is wrong. I've just been busy." "That's not it," Ethan said. His voice wasn't pushed or dramatic, but calm and steady, the way he always spoke when he cared too much to let something drop. "You haven't been yourself. You avoid conversations. You rush away from rooms when I come in. You look at the floor instead of me. Something changed." Her breath caught. She hadn't realized he had noticed all of that. She thought she had been subtle, careful, but Ethan had always seen her clearly sometimes, more clearly than she wanted to be seen. She kept her back to him. "You're reading too much into everything." He stepped closer, not close enough to trap her, just close enough that she could hear the sincerity in his voice without turning around. "Emily, I'm worried. That's all." She closed her eyes for a moment. Worry. That word hurt more than she expected. She didn't want him to worry, didn't want him to feel responsible for her confusion. She swallowed and turned to face him, deciding to keep her tone light. "You don't need to worry about me." But Ethan shook his head slowly. "I do. You matter to me." He didn't say it in a dramatic way. He didn't lean forward or try to make the words mean more than they should. He simply said them the way someone says the truth they've been carrying quietly. The honesty in his voice made her pulse rush. She wasn't used to hearing anyone say she mattered not like that. Not with that softness. Emily tried to steady her breath. "I'm fine, really." He gave her a long look, quiet, searching. "Then tell me why it feels like you're slipping away." The question pierced something inside her. She felt her throat tighten, her hands tense. She didn't want to fall apart in front of him. She didn't want to admit what she had been feeling. She wasn't even sure how to describe it. Attraction, confusion, fear, all mixed together in a way she didn't fully understand. She took a slow breath. "I'm not slipping away." "You are," Ethan said softly. "At least from me." The words hit harder than she wanted them to. She didn't know how to explain the internal battle she had been fighting the way she tried to distance herself because she thought it was the responsible thing to do, the right thing, the safe thing. But distance only made everything harder. Emily leaned against the dryer, hoping the metal would steady her. "Ethan, I just need space." He nodded, but the emotion in his eyes softened. "Space is fine, but I don't want you to feel like you have to hide from me." His voice was warm, so gentle that it felt impossible to stay guarded. She looked at him and he looked back with an expression that wasn't romantic, wasn't demanding, just full of genuine care. That made it harder. She could handle coldness. She could handle distance. But kindness had a way of breaking down every wall she tried to build. She opened her mouth to speak. But he spoke first. "Did I do something wrong?" Her heart dropped. That question tore through her like a sudden storm. She shook her head quickly. "No, you didn't. It's not you." "Then what is it?" he asked, still calm, still patient. "I'm not trying to make things complicated. I just want to understand." Emily didn't know how to answer. She didn't want to admit that the problem wasn't something he did, it was the way she reacted to him lately. The way she noticed things she shouldn't notice. The way her heart changed its rhythm when he walked into a room. Those were feelings she didn't want to explore. I definitely didn't want to confess. But Ethan was waiting. Quiet, still, open. She finally managed to speak. "I'm just overwhelmed." He stepped a little closer, careful but concerned. "With what?" "Life," she said quickly. "Everything. Work, family, pressure. I don't know. It's just a lot. 'Kay?" He nodded slowly, absorbing her words without trying to tear them apart. "Okay, that makes sense. But you don't have to handle everything alone." His voice carried so much warmth that she felt her eyes stink not with sadness, but with the soft ache of being understood. Emily realized she had been carrying her emotions like heavy boxes stacked too high inside her. And Ethan had noticed every wobble before she could respond. He reached out not to touch her skin, not to hold her hand, but to gently lift a clean shirt from her grasp that she had been holding without realizing. "Let me help," he said calmly, such a simple gesture. A shirt, a fold, a moment, but emotions filled the space between them like warm air rising. He placed the folded shirt on the counter and looked at her again. "You don't have to talk about anything now. I just want you to know I'm here." His sincerity wrapped around her like a soft blanket. Warm, safe, comforting, and then, just when the moment grew deeper, the front door opened. Voices echoed faintly from the hallway. The spell between them broke like a gentle wave rolling back into the sea. Ethan stepped back respectfully. "We'll talk later," he whispered. Emily nodded, her chest tight, her heart full of things she still wasn't ready to admit. But something had shifted. Something honest, something real. And she knew the next time they spoke she wouldn't be able to hide anymore. Emily spent the rest of the afternoon pretending everything felt normal, but her mind wouldn't calm down. She moved from room to room, doing small tasks without really thinking, wiping clean counters, fixing pillows on the couch, opening and closing cabinets just for something to do. But no matter how much she tried to distract herself, her thoughts kept circling back to the laundry room, to Ethan's voice, to the questions he asked, to the concern in his eyes. She didn't know how to handle this strange mix of emotions building inside her. She had always been close to him in a comfortable, harmless way. They were adults sharing a blended family. Nothing complicated, nothing dramatic. But lately something had shifted inside her, something she didn't want to acknowledge. She didn't want to cross any lines. She didn't want anything to become messy. Yet emotions didn't ask permission, They showed up quietly and refused to leave. When evening arrived, the house filled with the usual noise of dinner being prepared and conversations drifting through the rooms. Emily kept her distance. She helped her mom in the kitchen, answered her sister's questions, laughed at her stepfather's jokes. She acted normal to normal. It felt like she was wearing a mask that weighed more with every passing minute. Every time she caught a glimpse of Ethan walking through the hallway or reaching for a glass of water, her stomach tightened. She could feel his eyes on her, sometimes soft, thoughtful, patient, but he didn't approach her, and she was grateful. She wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. After dinner, she slipped away to her room and sat on the edge of the bed, trying to breathe. Her heart was racing for no reason she could explain out loud. The house felt full, but she felt strangely alone, as if she were carrying something too heavy and too delicate at the same time. Then a gentle knock sounded at her door. Emily stiffened instantly. She didn't answer at first, hoping whoever it was would go away. But the knock came again, soft, quiet, almost hesitant. "It's me," Ethan said from the other side. His voice wasn't demanding. It was careful. "Can we talk for a minute?" Her breath caught. A part of her wanted to stay silent, to avoid the conversation she knew was coming. But another part, tired of holding everything in, said she couldn't keep running forever. After a few seconds, she whispered, "Come in." The door opened slowly and Ethan stepped inside. He didn't turn on the bright ceiling light. He only switched on the small lamp near her desk, letting its warm glow soften the room. He closed the door halfway, leaving it slightly open, not wanting her to feel trapped. He took a slow breath before speaking. "I'm not here to push you. I just want to make sure you're okay." Emily nodded, but didn't trust her voice yet. He sat down on the opposite side of the room, keeping distance between them. His posture was relaxed, patient. "Earlier today, before everyone came home, you said you were afraid of something." She felt her heart jump. She immediately looked away. "I shouldn't have said that." "I'm glad you did," he replied softly. "It matters." She shook her head. "No, it doesn't. It was just stress." Ethan leaned forward slightly. "Emily, I've known you long enough to know when you're stressed and when you're scared. Today, you were scared." Her throat tightened. How could she explain something so confusing? She wasn't scared of him. She wasn't scared of anything he would do. She was scared of herself, her feelings, her thoughts, the quiet pull she didn't want to feel. She took a long breath. "It's complicated." "I can handle complicated," he said, his voice still gentle. Emily looked up at him finally, seeing the concern, the patience, the kindness. He wasn't guessing. He wasn't assuming. He was simply there, steady and safe. And something inside her broke open. "I've been keeping everything to myself," she admitted. "Trying to ignore things I shouldn't feel. Trying to convince myself it's just stress or imagination. But it's not going away." Ethan's expression softened, but he didn't move toward her. He didn't want to overwhelm her. "What exactly isn't going away?" She looked down at her hands. "I don't know how to explain it without sounding wrong." "You're not wrong," he said firmly. "Whatever you're feeling, you're allowed to feel it." The kindness in those words made her eyes sting. She blinked quickly, trying not to let tears fall. She didn't want this moment to feel heavy, but it already did. She swallowed hard. "I'm afraid of feeling too much." The room grew quiet. Ethan's breathing stayed steady, calm. He didn't interrupt. Emily kept talking, the words rushing out faster now. "I don't want things to get complicated in the family. I don't want people to misunderstand. I don't want to ruin anything. But I don't know how to turn off how I feel, and it scares me." Ethan's voice was low, warm. "Emily, nothing you're feeling ruins anything." "You don't know that?" she said quickly. "People judge. People assume things. And I don't want our family to fall apart or get awkward." He nodded slowly, taking her fear seriously. "You're right. People can misunderstand things. But we're adults. We can handle emotions responsibly. We don't have to act on anything. We don't have to rush into anything. All we have to do is be honest with each other." Emily's chest tightened. The word honest felt both terrifying and relieving. She wiped the corner of her eye. I don't want to lose you. You won't, Ethan said quietly, his voice steady as stone. Not because of feelings. Not because of fear. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Those words, simple, stable, grounded, settled the storm inside her more than anything else had. Before she could speak again, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Someone passed the door. Both she and Ethan fell silent instantly. The moment wasn't broken, just paused, as if the world was reminding them to be careful. Be patient. When the hallway quieted again, Ethan stood slowly. We don't have to finish this tonight, he said. I just wanted you to know you're not alone in this. Emily nodded, feeling her chest lighten even as her thoughts tangled. Thank you. He offered her a small, warm smile. Whenever you're ready, we'll talk again. Then he stepped out, leaving the door slightly open behind him. Exactly how he found it: respectful, gentle. Understanding that as the hallway light dimmed and the house settled into quiet again, Emily realized something had changed. Not in a dramatic way, not in a reckless way, but in a deep, emotional way she could finally admit to herself. She wasn't confused anymore. She wasn't running anymore. And for the first time, being honest didn't feel frightening. It felt like the beginning of something real. Evening settled over the Carter Mitchell house, off shadows stretching across the walls as lights flickered on in different rooms. Emily couldn't shake the conversation from earlier. Ethan's calm, patient words had stayed with her, replaying in her mind like a quiet song she didn't want to end. She moved around the house, helping her mother clear dishes and straighten the living room, but every task felt mechanical. Her thoughts kept drifting back to him, to the way he had listened, to the way he understood her without judgment. She knew she wasn't imagining it. Something had changed between them. It wasn't dramatic or rushed, but it was undeniable. Her heart felt lighter and heavier at the same time, a strange mixture of relief and anticipation. She didn't know how to explain it. She didn't even want to try, but she wanted to see him again, to be near him, to feel the quiet comfort of his presence. Stepping into the backyard, Emily hoped for solitude. The cool evening air wrapped around her, bringing a faint scent of grass and autumn leaves. She leaned against the railing, closing her eyes for a moment, letting the quiet calm her racing thoughts. That's when she noticed Ethan sitting on the porch steps, looking at the dark sky. He hadn't heard her yet, and for a moment she considered turning back, but she didn't. Some invisible pull made her walk closer, her steps soft on the wooden deck. He looked up, startled for just a moment, and then relaxed when he saw her. Couldn't sleep? He asked, his voice calm, easy, carrying the gentle warmth she had come to rely on. No, she admitted softly. Too many thoughts. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly. You, same, he said, giving a faint smile. Couldn't stop thinking about today. Emily felt a small flutter in her chest. She didn't know if it was nervousness or something deeper. She stepped a little closer, keeping a respectful distance, and sat down beside him on the edge of the porch step. The night was quiet, filled with distant car sounds, rustling leaves, and the occasional chirp of a bird. It felt like the world had slowed down just for them. For a while, they just sat side by side, sharing the silence. Neither spoke, but the silence wasn't heavy. It was comforting. Emily felt the tension in her shoulders loosen, the racing in her chest calm slightly. She looked at him, noticing the calm lines of his face, the steady set of his shoulders. It's the way he seemed so natural and grounded, even in moments like this. She realized she had been holding on to emotions alone for too long, trying to navigate feelings she wasn't ready to name. But with him, it felt safe to let them exist without acting on them. Finally, Ethan spoke, his voice low and careful. About earlier. I want you to know I'm not expecting anything from you. I'm not asking you to feel a certain way or do anything. Emily turned slightly toward him, meeting his eyes. I know, she said softly, and I appreciate that more than I can say. He nodded. I just wanted to be honest with you. I care about you. I've always cared in some way, but I realize now it's more than just family concern. But I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I just want you to feel safe. Her heart raced. She hadn't expected him to say that so plainly. Yet he wasn't being bold or pushy. He wasn't forcing the moment. He was simply telling her the truth, letting her decide how to handle it. I care about you too, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. More than I realized. But I don't want things to get complicated. I don't want to hurt anyone. You won't, he said firmly. Feelings don't have to hurt anyone if we handle them with respect. We can take our time. There's no rush, no pressure, just honesty. Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her. For so long she had carried the fear of judgment, of mistakes, of saying something wrong. Now, sitting beside him under the calm night sky, she felt understood. Not just in passing, not just superficially, but deeply. They talked for a long time, small things at first, about the day, about family, about ordinary life. But between the ordinary words, there was an unspoken connection, a quiet acknowledgement of the emotions they shared. It wasn't romantic in action, not yet, but it was romantic in feeling a slow, gentle understanding that their hearts were aligned in ways they hadn't admitted before. Ethan listened as she spoke about her fears and frustrations, never interrupting, never judging. His calm presence gave her courage. She realized that the tension she had felt in the laundry room, the confusion and fear, didn't need to dominate her anymore. He had shown her that emotions could exist safely, that feelings didn't have to be acted on recklessly to be acknowledged. When the cool night air began to make her shiver, Ethan offered his jacket. She smiled softly, but declined, wanting the small shiver to remind her she was alive, that she was present, that she was feeling Emily, he said after a pause. You don't have to figure everything out tonight, or tomorrow. We have time. We can talk. We can feel. Carefully. She nodded, her chest tightening with gratitude and something else she couldn't name yet. Thank you. For today, for understanding me, for being patient. Smiled, and it was the kind of smile that reached his eyes, soft and reassuring. Always. Anytime. The moment stretched on, not long in minutes, but heavy in emotion. Emily felt the quiet possibility of a future where feelings could exist safely, where care and understanding came first, and where both of them could navigate their emotions without rushing, without fear. Finally, Emily stood and stretched, glancing at the stars. I should head back. It's getting late. I'll walk you to the door, he offered. They walked slowly through the backyard side by side, leaving space between them that was comfortable, respectful. The air was filled with the quiet sounds of the neighborhood, the soft hum of distant cars, and the faint rustle of trees. At the front door, Emily turned to him. Good night, Ethan. Good night, Emily, he replied. And then, quietly, we'll talk again soon. She stepped inside, feeling lighter than she had in days. The house was still, the night calm, and her heart full. She realized that honesty, patience, and care could create a bond stronger than fear or confusion. Something real had begun, not dramatic, not reckless, but gentle, steady, and full of quiet promise. As she closed the door behind her, Emily felt a sense of peace. She wasn't rushing anything, she wasn't acting on impulse, and she wasn't afraid anymore. For the first time, she felt the warmth of connection without guilt or fear. And she knew that, whatever happened next, they would face it together, with respect, patience, and care. The night ended simply, beautifully, with two hearts quietly aligned under the soft glow of the stars, ready for the possibilities of tomorrow. And Emily understood that some beginnings were not marked by dramatic gestures, but by understanding, trust, and the courage to be honest with someone who truly cares.